it's me, Logan here, and today we're going to watch the King of Random. I actually haven't seen this, and I don't know.
Convert sticky labels and a couple of matches into a handful of exploding stickers. Put them on a hard surface and hit them with a hammer, and they explode on impact with enough power to leave your ears ringing. These little thunder caps are super cheap and easy to make, and are a fun way to level up your target practice as well, because with thunder caps, your targets explode.
That looks really cool.
All we need to start this project is a box of safety matches and a razor blade. The box cutter I'm using has a quick release feature for removing the blade inside, and that's what I'll be using in a couple of minutes. Now let's get to work making our improvised cap gun powder with the heads of 2 safety matches. Matches like these are around 50% potassium chlorate mixed with a few other ingredients like sulfur, starch, and glue. If we take a hammer and lightly tap the heads of the matches while slowly rolling the sticks around, you can see the pyrotechnic shell separates from the stick and flakes right off. You might have noticed I'm collecting the match heads on a paper sticky note, and that's mainly to help keep my brick clean, but it'll also make it a lot easier to capture and transfer the powder later on. Now our thunder caps are going to make a much bigger bang if we grind the chunks down to a really fine powder, and a really easy way to do that is with a kitchen knife. Crush them with the blade, then carefully spread the powder back and forth a few times like you're putting butter on a muffin. In less than a minute, you'll find you have an extremely fine match head powder that should look something like this.
That's cool.
Alright, it's time for the second ingredient that makes all the explosive magic happen, and you'll find it right there on the side of your matchbox. Take your razor blade and slowly and carefully begin scraping the side of the box so you can harvest some of the fine red powder, and keep a sticky note or a piece of paper under the box so you can salvage as much of it as possible. This precious powder is about 50% red phosphorus mixed with a few other abrasive materials like powdered glass. Use your blade to carefully scrape the 2 powders into separate lines, but make sure they don't mix together yet, because if they do, they'll activate and become impact sensitive. The recipe I'm using for my cap gun mix is 2 parts powdered match heads to 1 part striker strip powder. So as a basic rule of thumb, just make sure your green line is twice as long as the red one and it should work just fine.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe real quick, and turn on that notification bell if you ever want to play with me with Fortnite. My name is Flawless Turd. Let's go back to the video.
The safest and easiest way I've found for mixing the 2 powders is by dropping them into a plastic party cup and carefully swirling the mixture around for about 20 to 30 seconds. This way the composition gets thoroughly mixed and there's very little risk of spontaneous ignition, but that doesn't mean it won't ignite. In fact, you should always treat your cap powder with the highest levels of caution and respect to avoid setting it off accidentally. Now hopefully you got some earplugs and safety glasses nearby, because the time has come to bust some caps. Watch closely as I smack the pile with a hammer, and you'll see the instant it makes contact, the powder explodes and vaporizes into thin air. If you don't have a hammer, it's no problem. You can actually set the powder off with anything that hits hard enough to shock it. This amazing composition you've created is an improvised version of Armstrong's mixture, which, interestingly enough, is the same powder used for making cap gun caps. So that means now you have the option of reloading old cap gun caps and making them up to 10 times more powerful. Try using that option with the exploding cap darts we made in a previous video. Now just for fun, why don't we take this experiment one step further with a pack of sticky dots. I found a bundle of over 300 sticky back labels from the stationery section of my local grocery store. Set one of the labels down on the table with the sticky side facing up, then use something like a modified drinking straw to carefully transfer a tiny bit of the cap powder to the center of the label. Drop the powder right in the middle, then find another sticker the same color and carefully press it down over top, sealing off the edges and trapping the powder inside. You've just created a powerful homemade smack cap, and if you look closely you should be able to see the powder located in the center, ready for action. I went ahead and made a whole bunch more by adding the rest of the powder to different colored dots using the color coding to my advantage. The green dots have the smallest amount of powder, the orange dots have around twice as much powder, and the pink dots are as full as I could get them. Testing them out on my workbench, it's easy to see the difference between the green, the orange, and the pink dot, which was actually so loud your ears would have been ringing. So remember to do the smart thing and wear earplugs. I smacked a cap on a dirty brick so you can see the shockwave it makes when it explodes, then put one of the orange dots inside a leaf to see what would happen if we hit it with a rock. Apparently, the leaf gets completely obliterated in just an instant. For one final experiment, I picked up a CO2-powered BB gun to see what would happen if we tried using our thunder caps for target practice. I printed off a paper target and taped a smack cap to the center so when a pellet hits the bullseye, the target explodes. By sticking thunder caps to your targets, you'll get a very gratifying feeling of power and accomplishment when you hit your targets dead on. These exploding dots aren't just for BB guns though. They can be used with slingshots, blow darts, and I imagine they probably work with high-speed airsoft pellets as well. But whichever way you use them, one thing's for sure, you're bound to get a reaction each time you set one off. Well, now you know how to use a couple of matches and some sticky labels to make an arsenal of color-coded Thundercaps. And whether you use them for target practice or just for having a bit of fun exploring science in the backyard, your Thundercaps are guaranteed to be a blast. Well, that's it for now. If you like this project, perhaps you like some of my others. Check them out at thekingofrandom.com. Hey guys, that's the end of this video.
Did you know this when this came out? He wasn't dead. He actually died in he went paragliding and he hit a tree, and that's why he's one of my favorite YouTubers. Except the worst thing happened to him ever, and if any of you want to watch him, it'd be really nice. Good night.